This is the Nancy Stevens Lifestyle Show here on the New Horizon Radio.
Welcome to the Nancy Stevens Lifestyle Show here on the New Horizon Radio, and what a week it's been. From sitting in the audience bursting with pride as my son Benjy made it through to the semi-finals in Britain's Got Talent. Honestly, what an experience. I don't think I'll ever get over it. To getting very camp at Priscilla, Queen of the Desert at Aylesbury Waterside Theatre. Gisèle Pelicot's book, one of the most difficult but important reads ever. There's been movie magic with a Michael biopic. And a sheep detective, yes, really, that's how random my movie going choices are. Heartwarming styling session with care home residents, and of course Nancy's What's On guide. So stay with me, it's going to be a packed one. What a week. Oh my God, mind well and truly blown. A couple of weeks ago, I went to see Benjy perform with the Playground Boys in Britain's Got Talent semi-finals. And the whole experience was just phenomenal. Apart from the obvious pride as a mum seeing him on stage, but I guess just being there, just sensing, sort of soaking up the atmosphere, and we've got Andy Collins, who is a warm up act. So I know Andy from Aylesbury, and he sort of gets the audience going between takes when the ads are on. So the energy level was high throughout, and there was singing and, you know, kind of karaoke vibes and prizes given out and everything. It was really good fun, and obviously the judges come on and everybody's clapping and oohing and ahhing, and we had really, really good seats actually. So Playground Boys were put together by Kenny Warmold, who is a world famous choreographer, and the boys actually met at Playground London where they did their dance classes, and they've got through to the semi-finals, and they just smashed it. They absolutely smashed it. And I'm not just saying that because I'm Benjy's mum. It was incredible. They came, they slayed, they conquered. The judges all had phenomenal feedback. Even Simon, who can be a bit curmudgeonly sometimes, it just said, boys, you absolutely nailed it. Couple of things so that weren't in their favour, that they were on first. So that's kind of the graveyard shift, the graveyard, you know, it's not a good time to go on first, because obviously by the time you get to the end of the show, people have kind of forgotten what you've done, maybe. I think the reason they put them on is because they had this wow factor, and the impact was so phenomenal. It kind of got the party vibes going. And also there's the golden buzzer, which none of the judges, which KSI had the golden buzzer, would want to press for the first act. It just doesn't work like that. So I guess they feel like they're hedging their bets. So unfortunately, they didn't get through. They did really well. I mean, they sort of came sort of halfway through the leaderboard. It was very quick in terms of being able to get your votes, and you only had 7 minutes to get 5 votes in, so it was felt quite frenetic. But honestly, no matter, the boys smashed it. They enjoyed it. Benjy absolutely loved it, and what I loved afterwards is he went to the foyer with one of the other dancers, and they signed autographs, and they had photos taken with the youngsters and fist bumping them, and little boys who want to dance looking up to Benjy, because Benjy looked up to people like him when he was younger, and dancing when he was sort of growing up just wasn't deemed cool. So it was a real, you know, to see him behave with such dignity made me the proudest mum in the world. It was an amazing experience. So proud of the boys, and there's always a chance of a wild card, but we're not holding our breath for that. But again, an incredible experience. Afterwards, I actually interviewed Ted Hill, who is the PowerPoint comedian who won Anton Deck's Golden Buzzer, and he won the public vote that night as well. So I did a little vox pop with him, which is on my socials. So really interesting approach to comedy, actually a little bit different. But the whole experience was very emotional, a very different perspective, watching it, you know, in the audience as opposed to watching it on TV. Came home, watched it on TV, watched it on YouTube. It's racking up thousands of views. So still really popular, still an amazing experience, and, you know, something that Benjy is never, ever, ever going to forget. And as his mum, honestly, to go back, a pinch me moment, to go back and think of that little boy who desperately wanted to perform on BGT when we watched it as a family, growing up, was just absolutely incredible. And coming up at Cineworld, I've been to see 2 very different movies. So the first movie I wanted to see, which was the Michael biopic, and I saw that with Benjy because Michael Jackson was one of the biggest parts of his inspiration to dance growing up. So we had to see that together, and we made it work, and it was really, really special to watch that through his eyes as well. God, it's a sad film in terms of, you know, watching his really difficult childhood, and you know how he was sort of hit by his father Joseph, who ruled the family, but particularly Michael with a rod of iron. To just see him being belted and shut in rooms and shouted at and just told to perform like a performing seal. That was a very hard watch. But Jaafar Jackson, who is Michael's nephew, Jermaine Jackson's son, plays Michael, and he is out of this world. He practiced for 2 years before he even auditioned, and you can see why. It's in the genes, but the talent is there, but the hard work has gone in, and he nailed absolutely everything, every nuance, every step of the moonwalk. Everything was just spot on. It was a beautifully curated, created biopic, and I cannot wait to see Michael 2. Obviously the second film will have to deal with all the controversy, but that cannot be taken away from the master showman that he was. You know, his music will live forever, and it was emotional, an incredible watch, and as a performer, watching it through my son's eyes, just so moving. Something completely different, something a bit lighter, a detective story, The Sheep Detectives. How would I describe this movie? I would describe it as, if you remember the movie Babe, which was really popular back in, I think it was the 2000s when my boys were growing up. This movie is like Babe for sheep. So it's all about sheep, and Hugh Jackman is a sheep farmer who has this flock of sheep, talking sheep of course, and he, no spoiler there, but it's you'll see it in the trailer, he gets murdered fairly early on in the movie, but there's enough Hugh Jackman to go around for everybody, and I was quite pleased with that. And it's just about how the sheep are going to sort of seek justice for his murder, and it's ridiculous, but it's so cute and so fun, and absolutely, yeah, it's great for kids, it's great for adults, and there's just something so cute about lambs. I know I eat them and I'm a hypocrite or whatever, but they are the cutest of God's creatures. They really, really are. But two very different movies, both still on at Cineworld Milton Keynes. And a couple of weeks ago, I was really honoured to be asked to do a style talk for care home residents at Lace Manor Care Home in Buckingham. And when I was first asked to do this talk, I thought, you know, what will elderly ladies get from me? You know, it turns out, actually, what do we get from each other? And what I absolutely loved about it, I mean, there were probably maybe about, 10 ladies who attended the talk, but I wanted to make it about them, because yes, I wanted to talk about confidence boost through clothes, and that style has no age limit and all that sort of thing. But for me, what was fascinating was asking each lady what was their best decade for fashion, and it was really interesting to hear some of the answers. You know, some it was the 50s, because you know, music and fashion obviously went hand in hand, as they have done through the decades anyway, with the 60s, 70s, 80s, etc. Not so much now, definitely not now, but we're not talking about now, we're talking about history. And so yeah, talking about hoop skirts and the advent of rock and roll, and how it was all very exciting and dangerous, and a lot of the music was banned, but also the amazing fashions sort of post-war, after the 1940s, which were all sort of very, suits and waists, but not much color, because there wasn't much money in the economy. So incredibly interesting. I talked to one of the ladies that she said she loved the 60s, kind of flower power, Mary Quant, Bieber, the short dresses, Poochie Prince, really interesting. 70s glam rock, again, that whole kind of vibrant fashion as well. And one of the ladies actually said she loved the 80s, and I was like, I'm all for that. I mean, I'm rocking my inner 80s girl today with my pussy bow blouse. I absolutely found it really fascinating, and I really got as much from them as they did from me. And as I said, you know, style has no limit. There's no age limit. And I also said, you know, just because you're in a home doesn't mean you can't make an effort every day. So pop that lipstick on, or that top that you've not worn for ages, pop it on. It'll it just transform your whole day. So I personally got so much from it, and honestly, these sessions matter so much to me personally, and I would absolutely love to do some more. Coming up, I'm going to be talking about a really difficult read. Working with Waterstones last week, Gisèle Pelicot, Shame Has to Change, the book called A Hymn to Life. Probably, apart from the Virginia Giuffre book, the most difficult book I've ever had to read. And for those of you who don't know, she was married to, well, I don't really want to go into so much detail because it's a really distressing read, but it's a book that you should read, because what happened to her, it's the most powerful memoir I've ever read. So this extraordinary, powerful memoir by a heroine of our times whose story inspires change, compassion and change. And basically she was called to a local police station, and life as she knew it ended. And her husband of 50 years had been caught upskirting, filming women's skirts. But on his computer they found terrible evidence, and for years and years he and other men had been taking part in abusing her. And it's just, oh my goodness me, she is such a brave woman. This is a really uncomfortable read, but again, like the Virginia Giuffre book, I think it's good to read these books because not everything is unicorns and roses and rainbows, and these bad things do go on, but my God, she's a testimony to life after a really tragic thing, and how her family and her friends have rallied around her. But incredible. I'm so inspired. It really is a phenomenal book. And on my What Song guide, there's some amazing local events coming up. We've got International Yoga Day on the 21st of June at Willen Lake. Great for beginners, long-time practitioner, or if you're a bit curious about yoga or looking for sort of a positive experience. It's completely free. I mean, how often do we get to go to free events these days? And Joanna, who runs Yoga State of Mind Daily, is organising the whole thing, and I cannot wait to go along. If you missed my show the 19th of April, I'm interviewing Joanna, so there's much more detail about that as well. And for book lovers, please do attend the Buckingham Literary Festival, which looks phenomenal. I'm gutted I can't go. The 18th to the 21st of June. Headlined Prue Leith, John Sargent and Robin Ince. I mean, that's just a few of the amazing names. So this will be absolutely incredible. Again, I will put more on my socials. Flora Reese, who is a friend of the show, is sort of running the event. And as I say, I will post it on my socials. But Buckingham Literary Festival will be just a joy. So if you've got an event that you'd like to for me to talk about, please message me, and obviously please follow me on Nancy Radio Presenter, and as I say, I will do my best to promote whatever events you got coming up. But there's always so much happening in Milton Keynes, and last but not least, we're going to come up and we're going to talk a little bit about Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, getting very camp. A couple of weeks ago I went to see Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, the musical, at Aylesbury Waterside. Oh, I love the show. I'd forgotten just how much I love it. I hadn't seen it for a good few years, actually. The last time I saw it was at Milton Keynes Theatre, and there's a well-known Neighbour star who starred, and let's just say it felt like he dialed the performance in. This was not the case at all. Amazing cast. We had Kevin Clifton, who stars as Mitzi, Adele Anderson as Bernadette, and Nick Hayes as Felicia Adam. And basically it's about three drag queens who go across Australia in a bus named Priscilla, and the shenanigans, shall we say, that they get up to along the way. The homophobia that they experience in sort of early 90s Australia as well, being out in the outback. They're going to Alice Springs. You can just imagine the reaction to these gorgeous drag queens turning up in these very male-dominated mining communities. It did not go down well, but there's some incredible songs. I absolutely loved it. I mean, we had... what songs we had? Well, first of all, we had costumes by Vicky Gill from Strictly. And just talking about Strictly, what are your thoughts on the Strictly presenting lineup? The internet has gone slightly mad. I don't know what I think, actually. I really don't know. I'm trying to be open-minded. So for those of you who've been living under a rock, we've got Emma Willis, Josh Widdicombe and Johannes Radaby presenting. I'm just not sure about Josh Widdicombe, but the BBC hopefully know what they're doing. I mean, I just can't see it working. But they did extensive chemistry tests. I don't know. I'm a bit worried. I mean, if someone like Zoe Ball didn't get it, or Rylan, who are just brilliant presenters. I am worried. I know they're trying to kind of zhuzh the show up and make it a bit more contemporary. Is this a kiss of death? I really hope not. But the internet has gone mad because there's been speculation for weeks and weeks and weeks. Anyway, I digress. Vicky Gill did the costumes for Priscilla, and they were just absolutely incredible. So amazing songs. As I say, Colour My World, Finally, Hot Stuff, and of course It's Raining Men. It is probably the campest show in town. Sequins, sparkle, feather boas, and the overall message is just absolutely beautiful. And one of the sayings, which I can't say on air actually, but I think you have to watch the film. There's a brilliant saying, which I would just say, go back and watch this incredible film, which is well over 20 years ago. It's something about wearing a frock on a rock. I can't say anymore because I'll get chucked off air, but it is an incredible show. Priscilla is touring the country. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, the musical, absolutely loved it. And next week, I'm joined by my fellow Zimbabwean, my client turned friend, and quite honestly, one of the best public speakers I've ever heard. She's the founder of Penguin Village, an inspirational storyteller and an absolute force of nature, the phenomena that is Tendai Anna. Trust me, you do not want to miss that one. Until then, take care. I'm Nancy Stevens. This is a Nancy Stevens Lifestyle Show. Have an amazing week.